Welcome back to some more Create Integrated. Now, last episode, I set out to make a cobblestone processing facility, and I think I've done pretty good at that. This is a very basic cobblestone processor that is producing iron, producing gravel, sand, and we're also getting flint, and we're getting clay as byproducts of this operation. And these are all fantastic building materials, and also that iron can be used later on. But as of right now, I want to also build something that produces andesite, because that is the one and only other thing that we really need to get our hands on. At the moment, the only way that we have gotten our hands on andesite is by simply mining. And so today we should be able to have a passive automation of andesite. And this is another one of those things that I want to produce inside of this factory that I'm building. So also, on top of making andesite, we are going to be producing several other things that are going to come from this single cobblestone generator that we have over here. Now, if we want to go about making andesite, there are several things that we need to worry about. And there are a couple of different ways that we can actually make andesite. First of all, we have a compacting recipe that does produce andesite with a little bit of lava, which we do have, just not fully set up all the way just yet, and utilizing some of that flint. This is one of the ways that we can make it. But there's also another recipe that utilizes diorite and cobblestone to be able to make andesite. It makes two of them. This is actually not a bad recipe. However, to be able to make diorite, it is a little bit more complicated because it's not just a simple mixing recipe to be able to make diorite itself with nether quartz and cobblestone. Instead, you have to use a mechanical crafter in order to get this diorite to work. And that's because diorite is actually a shaped recipe, which is kind of important. But now, how do we get our hands on nether quartz? Well, that is the whole process that we are going to work on today. And not only are we going to be producing nether quartz from this operation, we're also going to produce soul sand that we can potentially use to make scoria. So we have another decorative block. And then we'll also be able to produce in this operation gold nuggets. So yes, we're also going to automate gold in some weird way. And yeah, all of this is literally coming from this one cobblestone generator. So I have an idea. This setup that we have right over here, I kind of want to simulate that on the other side, but I want to have my barrels facing this direction instead. So we'll run a belt all the way over here, and then a belt is then going to branch over here, and this is where we're going to do the processing. Now, I know you may be wondering, Chosen, why don't you just utilize some of the resources that you're producing over here in order to do this? And while that is a fantastic idea, I do want these to only be constantly generating so that way I can come over here, grab some sand, and then it just regenerate. So I want this to constantly be here, mostly for building materials in the future. And this side right here is going to also be producing some building materials, but separately. So yes, we need to process our cobblestone yet again. So just like we did before, this is going to produce some cobblestone. The cobblestone is going to run into the crushing wheel, turn into gravel. Then we need to process it almost immediately on this setup. And we're going to process this into sand, but it's also going to produce some of the other byproducts. For example, we're going to be producing clay, and we're also going to be producing flint as well. I'm probably going to end up voiding those things, however, and we're going to use tunnels for that as well, just like we did on the other side. Now, this is a reminder, if you missed last episode, you may not be actually subscribed, so be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and well, give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoy videos like these. On this side of the brass tunnel, I'm going to place in the flint, and then the clay I want over here, because there's something special that we're probably going to end up doing with clay a little bit later on down the road. Yes, we are producing it in two places, but this clay right here can actually be turned directly into terracotta, and then we could process it even further after it's terracotta, producing potentially even more gold. And all of that will be handled in an advanced barrel, which will get that sophisticated barrel up and running, but as of right now, these are our placeholders. Now, because I don't have use for the flint at the moment, this is going to be voided like right off the bat. So I will go ahead and let's actually use a bucket here, because I guess just dire things can't place it in the cauldron. So we'll place that. There we go. It is now in there, and then I'll just use a funnel to just drop any flint that ends up in this barrel right into the cauldron. And now we need to work on the sand processing. Okay, so sand is going to come out of here, but we do need to deal with this sand in a interesting way. We need to haunt it. And I think this is where our belt line is going to get shortened up, just like so. Because I think this method that we were using over here is going to work out really, really well for this. So it's going to drop the sand onto the depot. We then want that to carry it into the chute. We then want a block to be underneath the chute so it has nowhere else to go. And then we'll use a funnel to send out a perfect stack of that material directly out into the world in this position. Now we want to make sure that this can send as much as it is receiving out. So we don't want to block this spot right here. So we need to make sure that there's at least 2 blocks down below the actual catalyst itself. So that means the catalyst probably needs to be like right here, for example. Or I guess for it to work just like the other side, yeah, I have a block space and then right underneath it is the thing that is actually going to be doing the processing. So in this case, we have ourselves a campfire, and it's a soul campfire, by the way. And then I just need a fan to go directly underneath. We'll figure out how we're going to power this whole situation later on, but this right here should get the job done. Then a block above that, we will have a barrel. This barrel right here, underneath it is what's going to collect all of our stuff. So we are going to need a funnel, and we're also going to want to make sure that it is a filtered funnel. Either that's filtered or the drawer itself, the barrel itself needs to be filtered, but I think it's easier just to filter this. Make sure to turn that up like so. And then we need to filter specifically gold nuggets, which is going to be produced in here. And also the soul sand. Wait, no, this is just producing the soul sand. There's a lot of steps involved. So yes, this is taking the sand and converting it directly into soul sand, like in bulk. Now this barrel is going to be filled with that soul sand, right? And I do also want to store some soul sand. So the goal is to hopefully this will split the amount that goes inside here, which is the goal. It'll split it, and then some will end up in here. But once this barrel fills up, we don't have to worry about it anymore. The rest of it's just going to flow through. So the same system is going to happen over here after this is done processing. So we're basically doing the exact same modules over and over again, but this one is doing some washing. So we do have a fan that is also down here. We're going to have to get that hooked up. And then we're going to take another barrel, and this barrel is the one that is going to be collecting the flint and the gold. Yeah, sorry, not flint and gold, quartz and gold. So I've got to set my filters. This one is going to be filtered for soul sand, and then we'll have this one, like I said, that is going to be gold, nuggets, and also quartz. So we've got to get the quartz in here inside of a list filter, just like that. And that's what we're going to allow into this funnel. And then we're just going to take out of this barrel, and we are going to split this 2 different ways. We're going to have the gold nuggets go into this barrel, and then over here, we're going to have the quartz. Just got to hit this with some filters. There we go. And we're good. And we'll also handle the compacting of this into gold ingots later on, once we get these barrel upgraded. Now we just got to get this all powered up. So I want this spinning in this direction, and we definitely can utilize some of these transmission chains again. So if I place this here, transmission chain, that carries that rotation all the way through. And then we just need to continue doing that specifically for these belts. That's going to carry that rotation in the correct direction. Stuff like this, we can just simply use a shaft. That's going to make a lot of sense. And on the other side, we are kind of limited here. A gearbox would work, but we're probably going to have to rotate this through. So what exactly could I use here? I mean, I could just use a chain drive. You know what? I'm probably just going to carry it from a gearbox. Just got to make sure, though, that it is spinning in the correct direction. And then down on our fan area, I mean, this one's not too bad. We just got to line everything up, making sure the fans are spinning in the right direction. And the best way to handle these fans, honestly, are encased chain drives. Just carry some of that stress down, get it all rotated in the right direction. And this will actually change directions too, like so. And then we need to check, is it blowing in the right direction? It looks like it is. Beautiful. Right now, I'm temporarily going to be voiding off the clay and also the flint, but everything else should start running. As soon as I slap this on here, we should start seeing all of that cobble flow in. That's going to get processed, and I hope that I set all of my filters up correctly. Yep, okay, there goes the clay. I didn't give it any funnels to send the items to. That would kind of help, right? So there's those funnels to take the items in. And same on this side, we want to make sure we have all of the funnels. Oh, and this is beautiful watching this happen. This is working as intended. I wanted this barrel to be filled up first, and that is exactly what it's going to do. And then once this barrel and belt line fill up, then the rest of the processing will start to happen. And just to confirm that it is functioning, there is all of our nether quartz building up. And over here, we have all of our gold nuggets. Ah, this is great. So now that I know this is running, I'm going to temporarily shut it off because we have to think about our other processing now. So we also need to carry some cobblestone down the line over here, and this is going to get combined with the nether quartz, and is what is ultimately going to allow us to produce the andesite. Now this is where things get a little bit weird, because we are going to be dealing with a mechanical crafter. So let's think of this as now we are producing diorite. Now we have the materials and everything needed to be able to handle diorite production. And so what we're going to need to be able to do this is the mechanical crafter, some sort of inventory for the mechanical crafter to send its crafts to. And so if you shift right click when placing, it'll automatically force it in that direction. And then we'll just continue placing these mechanical crafters. Now, how are we going to automatically send materials to this? Well, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this, but I think one of the best is by using mechanical arms. You can individually send if you do have a way of like belting items in, but these got to go in a very specific order. So the diorite, for example, cobblestone in this crafter needs to go in the top and bottom right. And then we are going to need the the nether quartz in the top and bottom left. So we can feed this and we can be very specific with where that we are sending these items by simply doing something like this, where we filter out and we utilize our mechanical arms to select off of a depot and send into filtered brass funnels. And this is honestly just where I start to fall in love with Create, all of these logistical things. Now, if we right click, it says takes item from depot. And if we click on here, it'll say deposit items to brass funnel, and we can select multiple locations. And then we just need to place in our mechanical arm. You can also place these things upside down, by the way. It does give it a really cool look if you do it that way. We're also going to use another one over here and place that down. This does need rotational power, and it is best to just simply use some cogs. Looking in our mechanical crafter, I will connect in a chain drive. That's probably going to be the easiest way to carry that into the mechanical crafter itself. These are a little bit different. We do need to get some rotation, but sideways. Thankfully, though, the rotation direction doesn't matter, so just simply using a gearbox should be able to get the job done, and turning it into a vertical gearbox. The two vertical gearboxes, one going here, and then one connected to this shaft, and then just right on top of that, place in a cog. And there we go. Now over here to separate that cobblestone, we are going to want to receive some cobblestone on this side. And I don't think split is going to be a good idea. Probably just round robin, I think, is going to be the best, just to send the cobble over here. So now we just need to let it rip, and let's see, is this going to craft diorite for us? Or did I mess something up? Okay, so on this side, that's right, I do have to have the depot functioning over here. So instead of just sending multiple items, I am going to send, you know, we could just send multiple items, actually, now that I think about it. Let's just use a brass funnel to send that out. That does the crafting. And look at that. It is now producing diorite for us. Now we've just got to finish up the final step, and that is going to be taking an andesite funnel, sending the ingredients into here. We do need to make sure the belt rotates correctly, and sending it into a basin that is then going to mix the ingredients. If I grab this, mix the ingredients, and then output that onto this belt, which will then carry into this barrel, which will have the andesite in it. Beautiful. Now, if you want to change the direction of the auto output, you can actually click this just like so. Very cool. Now, over the years playing around with Create, I've learned a lot of different tips and tricks for belt manipulation. For example, one of them, I just carried the power through an encased chain drive, flipped the encased chain drive, and it allowed me to power this mixer, making that very simple. Over here, I just, well, extended the belt one extra just to make sure I can receive that power all the way down this belt line. This one, though, is a little bit more complicated. I need this rotating in the opposite direction, and every other source I have is just not going in the correct location. I mean, an option possibly is to connect into this and carrying over some rotation into here, and then seeing if a gearbox flips that rotation direction. It does. Ah, that's perfect. Just things like that. You gotta like kind of toy around a little bit until you find the right thing. But here we go. We're gonna get most of these filled in. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up off of this belt. This is something else that you can do. And I'm gonna output out of the barrel using this as a transition. That's going to put everything into here. Once this finishes mixing though, it should end up all into this. So the only thing we have left to do is like to actually turn the whole thing on and start seeing if we are going to be mixing things. There we go, and looky there, andesite. I mean, technically this is running, but there is a few problems and a few flaws that we do have to work through, and it will be better off whenever we do have like actual void upgrades for machines for these barrels. But as of right now, there are other ways we could potentially void out items that are filling up in these barrels. I still think as of right now, one of the best options is to simply fill a cauldron with lava. And because this is on the outer face, this should go first. This should go first. And then this is going to be that secondary that is going to hopefully get voided. I don't know why that lava is not voiding this go around. Oh, it would probably help if I actually use the right container. To be fair, cauldrons and basins look so similar. It's not okay. All right. So yes, filling that, then any excess nether quartz will end up going here, and this should still stay full. Just to make sure we're not voiding anything else, I'm really watching this, and you can see that we are still building up gold nuggets, which is what we want to see, and gold nuggets aren't being voided over here. It really is all of these little quirks on the machines and how these funnels and stuff function. I mean, honestly, it's kind of weird figuring out what all takes priority and what doesn't. Now, gold, we definitely want upgraded andesite. We probably want upgraded compacting upgrade. We definitely need in here to be able to compact this. So that way we set this to, let's see, compact only craftable. Nope, there it goes. There's the gold. This one we want just for simple storage space, because we are going to be using a lot of nether quartz down the road. Something to keep in mind, by the way. Is this still working? Yeah, that's still working good. We definitely want this one upgraded for more storage space. And possibly soul sand we want upgraded too. I think the factory is really coming along. There's some touches that I can definitely do, like making sure all of the belts are in case. This is just going to make it look a whole lot nicer and kind of carry that theme all the way through with all of these casings on here. Oh, that's pretty neat too. You can actually encase the transmission chains. What? Now, some other tips and suggestions: using girders to prevent you from going inside of your crushing wheels, because the crushing wheels can definitely kill you. So having some sort of protection, like placing girders on top like this, really does help with that scenario, and also will prevent things like villagers and stuff from just walking in them. But now this right here is what I would call a beginner automation farm for producing some of the beginner things in Create. As soon as you have a little bit of brass, as soon as you have crushing wheels, all of this is possible. The only thing that is technically different in this compared to normal Create is, well, that we do have sophisticated barrels, and we also have this awesome cobblestone generator, which you would normally have to build a much larger structure that is about the size of this over here in order to produce this much cobblestone. Man, how I love these quality of lives. It also helps reduce ton of lag. But cobblestone is not going to be much of a problem, considering we are going to unlock refined storage and many other things in the future. Cobblestone can be infinitely produced so quickly with those mods, and doing it this way I absolutely love. This whole thing is just simply running off of all of these wheels, and this whole setup is almost using all of our stress. It's using 75% of what the 32,000 SU is currently producing. So this whole factory is sustainable within itself, and it also has a few other tricks up its sleeve, allowing you to technically use 8,000 more SU for something else in here if you so wanted to. Now, I do want to start concepting and thinking about how we're going to build a building around this. And this is something that I mentioned before. We do have our walkway that walks into this courtyard, but I do want to leave a little bit of space to kind of walk in the front and make sure we don't, you know, trip on stuff. So I think like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, this seems to be a pretty good spot to kind of give us space. This will be the center walkway that'll probably have some stairs that lead up. We'll have some more storage that goes on up here. And then as far as the amount of space between this, I mean, possibly like right up here. I mean, we want this to be a pretty tight squeeze. So somewhere right about here, it'll be a nice little building. We'll have a nice little face on the front. And then outside here, we'll also do the same thing. We'll go about 2 blocks, giving it about a 2-block gap. So I do want the door to lead into this center area. So we're going to have a pretty nice door. We can do a garage door or something like that. And then we probably want some windows. And I want to think about the positioning of those. Possibly a 2-block gap. And then we'll have a nice little window here. And we could also have another window right here. Ooh, we got to start thinking about this 2-block gap situation. So maybe I'll go out here one more, so that way this window gap will give us enough space to have a 2-block spacing here, and then 3-block, 3-block, 2-block, 3-block for a door. Then we probably want another window right here. I think that'll be pretty nice. And you know what? We'll do a 2-block gap over on this side too, giving us even more space. And that'll look nice. We'll have a window here. We'll have 2 windows here. And then we'll just figure out the face of the rest of the building, adding some things along the edge. Oh, this is going to look nice when it's all said and done. Now, I've got big plans for this build, and next episode, I'll definitely be working on that build. But there's some things that I could also get worked on. For example, andesite. We can take probably all of this andesite that we now have here built up, and we can also take some of this iron, and we can just have like a bunch of andesite alloy now passively made because we are just producing an abundance of this stuff. So good. So over here, I have some semi-automation. I have a hopper that is underneath a depot leading into a barrel, and then I just have 2 hoppers here that are going to allow me to feed in our individual ingots. So we have our ingots over here. That is going to feed in there. And then we can just take our andesite in this one, feed that into here. That's going to get mixed up, and it is going to automatically deposit onto the depot, so you don't have to worry about filtering or anything, and then just send the andesite into the barrel. So semi-automation, it is a whole lot easier doing it this way. And currently we don't have a good way of technically automating the primal goo version. Also, in a similar vein to this, for some simple automation here for the press, I am using a barrel to send onto the depot, and the press will actually press through this. And I'm just using a little filter in here where I have placed in plates and selected the tag C plates and added that attribute to the filter. And so the only thing that will be allowed out is plates. So I can take my iron, drop it in, that then spits it into the hopper, which then goes into this barrel. Just some very, very simple automation here. Before you know it, we are going to have an entirely different workshop setup that will speed all of these processes up tremendously. That, my friends, will be a factory for another day, because today we are just simply all out of time. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hopefully you learned a thing or two about automating with Create. I tried my best to utilize as much Create related things to automate this as possible, but we are going to have a ton more tools in the future, especially refined storage and many other ways to automate, making all of this much, much more seamless. And so, if you did enjoy today's episode, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, give this video a huge thumbs up, and now, without further ado, it's time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Turtle Burger over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and just supporting me in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. And also, their profile picture is a turtle. Oh, that is a burger. It is exactly what you think it is. Absolutely love it. And guys, I thank all of you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I can't say it again enough. Thanks for watching.